Welcome to the creative side of things,
where we empower and inspire business owners and entrepreneurs to tap into their inner creative,
from standing out in saturated markets
to debunking and challenging the status quo.
We'll learn firsthand from actual small business owners how they've applied creativity, imagination, and common sense to grow their businesses. I'm Javier, Chief Creator and founder of High Ground Creative.
And I'm Megan, founder and CEO of Cheek & Co Clothing.
I'm Gen X and her dad.
I'm Gen Z and his favorite daughter.
Oh, that's debatable.
Well, it's not up for debate. Together we are creative thinkers,
design experts,
branding gurus,
imagination igniters,
and coffee addicts. Keep listening and we'll prove it to you.
Hey, you might learn something.
Imagine that.
Ready?
Let's get creative.
Okay, here we are.
We're back.
We are back. We have podcast experience now.
And a new camera. It's very, we realize the wide of these are a little fuzzy.
Yeah. So this is episode 2. Megan.
This is episode 3, actually, that we've recorded.
We're recording now episode 3.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, you're right. So Megan warned us the first episode when you were getting to know us. Now that you know us, we're close to you. I feel like we're one. We're like with you in the audience. She did warn us that every one of the new episodes were going to be a little better.
Yes, and so the one we last recorded was our first topic episode. So we've already
right. Oh, okay, I see. I remember that one.
Yeah. Okay. Restart. And no touching your mic.
Okay, so before we get started, we're going to jump into this really today, but welcome to the creative side of things. You already heard that on the intro. Welcome back to the TCSOT. Never mind.
That's a lot.
So real quick thing before we really dive into this, I want to tell everybody something, a really neat story, really funny story. So we recorded the first episode, Megan and I, get to know us. We were so excited. And when I started looking, doing the editing and as far as the shots, I'm like, oh gosh, lighting, we need to get a little, need a little brighter. So we have more lights here now. So then I show it to my wife, your mother, and she sees the entire episode. And there was, she was smiling.
And we like going to her for constructive criticism.
That's right. Because she'll give it to us straight.
She'll give it to us, yeah.
So here's the 2 points. So afterwards, I look at her and I'm like, so what do you think? She's like,
what do you think?
She's like, Megan's really funny. And I'm like a little puppy,
You're like,
can I get some validation here, please? And she goes, why do you grab the mic so much? Can you not grab the microphone so much? That's what I got.
Didn't notice, and now I'm going to notice every time you do it.
I know. So now I'm all paranoid about touching.
I don't at all. I hold my pen.
No, but okay, we'll work on it.
You really shouldn't.
Okay.
Because then they have to hear it.
But just know sometimes I'm going to need to bring it closer and stuff, so that's okay.
I don't at all.
Okay. God, the pressure. I'm trying to be free here.
And so I did have one. She said, I want to hear from you guys. She said I shouldn't call him Javi and I should call him Dad.
That's right. She did say that. She says, Javi, that doesn't sound so professional and stuff. So
well, I am a professional.
Right. But she is your, so you.
But yeah, I'm Dad. All right.
So let's dive in. Now, I know that if this makes it to the final cut, then great. But we did promise we're
not cutting.
We're not cutting. So this is it. Let's get started. What is to today's episode is a one that is so deep ingrained, and you hear it all the time, that this topic is something that eludes us, but it's so in front of you, and people think they know what it is. And today we hope to bring some clarity to it. And
I think creativity is so part of this. Like 90% of this is creativity.
Okay, so you're already giving me some of your points of view. So So
today is about
branding
and you and your brand as well.
Yeah, so here we go. I mean, this is going to be interesting. So I want to let everybody know, and this will continue to remind everybody, that we agreed on topic, but we have not shared our notes and our points of view about them.
No.
What you hear now, real time, is going to be brand new to me once you hear out of her mouth, and vice versa.
And Megan has come up with what I think is a good exit like we told you guys we were going to do. We were going to figure out how to end the podcast, like something to say, and I like what I have, so we'll see if you guys like it.
Oh, look, I'm touching the microphone.
Stop touching the
Lisa,
microphone.
look. Touching, not touching.
Do the blue button real quick.
Okay, so I'm going to set a tone about officially what about branding, and then we're going to kind of go from here. So I'm going to read something. I thought about this a lot. There's a lot of answers and definitions about branding, but I am a marketing professional. My company, we're a creative marketing agency, so obviously we help brand companies. So this is what I'm going to set the tone, and then we'll go from here. Okay. Branding is the process of giving a meaning to a specific organization, company, product, service, or individual by creating and shaping a brand in consumers' minds. It's the heart of your business. It is the sum of your philosophy. It's your essence. It's your values, which inspires everything you do. Last point. Brands are intangible, which means that you can't actually touch them or see them. So as such, they help shape people's perceptions, which is a big one, of companies, products, or individuals. It is who you are. So I'm going to start it. Is it who you are, or is it who people think you are? Go.
Some people have it as it's who people think because they try and fit into a box and they try and be what the cookie cutter of whatever they're offering.
Okay.
But it's supposed to be who you are. Right. So take that with what you will. But so it's supposed to be who you are, and everything will flow organically, in my opinion, if you are true to who you are.
So if there's a little humming,
are we hearing an earthquake?
Okay, everybody, we actually are. Our office.
I got so confused.
Our office is on the north side of the Dover Air Force Base in Delaware.
That scared me.
And the C-5s fly over our building. So if they hear something, we're gonna keep going.
That's why when we both looked at each other, we're like, okay, we're not cutting it.
So that's probably one of the airplanes taking off.
It's not our earphones, no, right? Okay, cool. So in my company, and I'm referring to the clothing company, so Chica & Co., I brand Meghan, and Chica and Meghan are the same person. And so when I go on new ventures, new products, new things, everyone follows with no issue because it all kind of like fits. It's all, I don't have to create this whole new thing because it's me. Right. So it's not hard to bring in new services, new products, whatever.
Okay. Great.
So what's your take?
So what I read to you was obviously my very official definition of branding, but here we go. So I'm going to use you as an example. I just thought of this. There is Meghan Santana, and then there's Chica.
Yes.
Meghan is Chica, and Chica is your brand. It is your company, but is Chica Meghan?
Yes, in my opinion.
Okay. So you created a persona that is you. It's an essence of you. That in many ways, you're not faking it. You are who that person is, or who that the feeling you invoke when you people, groovy clothes for the modern hippie.
Mm-hmm. Chica is has become, I always call her my alter ego. Like, she's what I want to be when I'm not. Like, so I like that they're the same because I just feel more myself, more confident, more creative when I'm Chica. But it is important, like, not to go on a tangent, but it is important that you know who you are outside of your business, because a lot of entrepreneurs like myself started really young. I started in high school, so I had to really who am I without my business, and make sure that I know who Meghan is.
Okay,
because
good
that's so important.
Right,
like,
so
you can really lose yourself in your company.
Okay, so great point. So let's dissect that a little bit, unpack it. So brands evolve, right? So I know who High Ground Creative, and who I am, who this company is. That brand of this company has evolved over the last several years. As I grow, as we grow, we adjust our message. We're just we don't lose who we are, but we grow. And you make a point about knowing who you are. A lot of companies have, and I've said this before, and if somebody follows me on Instagram personally or even on my business, talked about, there's a lot of companies who have an identity crisis.
Yes.
They don't know who they are. And in essence, the business owner doesn't know who they are. So it translates into the business, which affects their brand.
So start at the core.
Right.
Start at yourself.
Yourself.
And then yourself should be your company. And of course, new things will come in, but overall, it's you.
Right.
So I'm glad you mentioned that, because people might, when they're like rebranding or like going back into things and like, what can I fix? They don't go to themselves at all. They just go to the business, and it's like, well, maybe you need to check yourself a little bit.
Right. And a logo is not a brand.
No.
We want to clarify this. A logo is a part of a brand, is a visual representation of that, but it continues. It's throughout everything else. It's the essence. It's the vibe you give. So sometimes I'm going to bring something up which I think you have a better understanding and even can speak to more about experience. Is as time goes by, a perception of your company is created from the general public outside in, whether you intended to or not.
Yes.
So their view of your brand might be different of your intention for that brand to be. So how do we navigate that?
Yeah, so your personality will accidentally kind of become your brand. Like for me, a known thing now, and with my clothing company, like customers, they know I love strawberries, like the aesthetic of strawberries. So someone who I've never met before, who just follows me on Instagram, will be at Home Goods, whatever. They see a strawberry item and they send it to me. So it's like free marketing because I personalized my brand. Because what are the odds of someone just seeing, like someone thinks of Chica when they see a strawberry now? So that's why like putting your personality into your brand is important, because you end up getting that kind of like almost free marketing where you're going to pop into someone's head. So for you, it's like Starbucks, right, Star Wars, like, and that's not your brand, but it's you. So I think of High Ground, I think of Javi when I think of Star Wars.
Okay, there you go. So now we're starting. There's a little overlap, and there's it's not blurry, but they're becoming one. Yeah. Right. One is you can and good friend of mine, a business coach who you'll meet soon in one of our future episodes. He says, people don't follow High Ground, they follow Javi.
Exactly.
People don't follow Chica and Co.
Because I'm sure there's people who follow me who haven't shopped before, and that's okay. Right. They're here because they are like enjoying watching me do what I do. Okay. And if they don't want to shop, then they don't have to. So that's why I feel like I would lose those types of viewers if I was all business, all selling.
Right.
But because I show behind the scenes, because I share tips, because I show me and my cat and my she shed and things like that, people are relating to more things than just a piece of clothing.
Right.
So yeah, that's extremely important.
And that has to be true, because if it's forced and if it's formula, it's not genuine. We can tell. And it's not really your brand.
Yeah,
you're faking it. And if that's not going to work. So be you. And if you don't know who you are, then start there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, that's it. See you guys, everybody. There's your lesson for today. So let's wrap that part up. Who dictates your brand? So do we, we kind of touched this, but
I think it's a mesh of you and your consumers. And if you don't like how your consumers are viewing you, then you need to either adjust your brand. But if you like the brand, but they're viewing it wrong, then you might need to adjust your viewers. Like it can go either way. So you might be marketing to the wrong like people if they're not vibing, but you're where you want to be. Does that make sense?
No, it does totally make sense.
So it can go either way. You might have to change your consumer base. Like if someone doesn't like crochet, they're probably gonna not like Chica & Co. Like, so it's not that I lost that person. It's just they're not for me. So they're gonna find someone else.
Or they might.
Or they just won't buy crochet. Like so.
But you stick with you because you liked it.
I'm not going to stop offering it. Exactly.
Right. But when you make decisions in your business, and same with me, I think about who my audience and who is my customer, who is the customer that I'm trying to attract.
Who's your ideal client?
Right. That's how I adjust my messaging and about what they need and their pain points and how to solve their problems and offer a solution. And that has to be tied to us. So I love how you said that. It starts with us. It starts at the core and then comes out of that. It's a very purposeful thing that we have to enter into. We cannot leave this back to chance, folks. If you kind of let it flutter, then it will be dictated to you, and then you're going to be reacting to the market and different things instead of being true to who you are and being comfortable in that space. At High Ground, I had an identity crisis for a little while because I was getting into business and I was accepting a lot of projects and clients that I don't now, but I'm very comfortable in our space. I'm very clear, and I'm okay that I don't have to be everything to everybody. You know?
And once you sacrifice that, then the right people start organically coming,
sure.
and you never have to turn anyone away.
Hugely,
they start finding you.
Right, because they're responding to the brand and the messaging behind it.
And also being humble enough to send people to other people.
Right.
Like as the photography part of my business, I will send people to other photographers if I feel they don't fit. Like I'm here. So I have officially stopped offering wedding photography, but on my website it says like, hi. Thank you. Taking big leaps.
This is actually a big thing.
This is huge. So I wanted to bring that up because on my website, on the contact form, it says, I'm not offering weddings. However, if you need recommendations, please still inquire. I'll send you a list. And I send them my favorite wedding photographers because I mean, community over competition. So right. I'm getting, and a lot of like customers or clients will be really thankful I like did that for them. A lot of photographers might not do that. So then they'll come back for maybe a family session because they're like, oh, she was really cool. She couldn't do this for me, but she gave me this person that could.
And that referral to that
exactly.
will actually be very strong because your brand was strong enough to attract them. But when you told them that, it'll carry on to the next person.
Yes.
Okay, I want to touch on another thing here that's very related to what we're talking about, obviously. Why is branding important?
Why is branding important? Why is it?
Why does your brand matter? That's another way to phrase it. And your Megan's or anybody's. Why should a business owner pay attention to that? And I think we've answered it, but I want to do it more specifically.
Let's bring in with that. You and I have seen people who you can tell they're having that identity crisis, and this is the worst thing that can ever happen to your business. Okay, pretend I'm a consumer. What do you do? What do you sell? That's the worst. And that's why branding is so important for those people who they offer good things, but I can't tell what the heck they do because they're like, it's so many things and it's not organized enough. Right. And they don't know. They don't even know what they do. Like they're trying to do, you can do multiple things. There's nothing wrong with that, but you got to organize it and it has to be structured and clear because if someone doesn't know, they won't even know how to shop you.
Listen to this young lady, okay, people?
As he grabs the mic again.
I'm not going to comply. This is my.
But I think that is the biggest issue I'm seeing in my community is they don't even know. And because like right now, retro is actually fine. Like it's been trending now. Mm-hmm. So someone like me is benefiting because we are a retro boutique. But then you see modern boutiques that are trying to be someone they're not to fit in the trend. And I'm like, girl, you don't even like disco balls. Like you don't have to offer that just because it's trending.
Right.
Like
it's interesting you say that.
You can follow trends, but also not become someone you're not.
Right. And that's a very fine line, but you have to it's not reactionary. It's very purposeful when you do it. It's okay to change your mind. It's okay to change your business model, but don't do it out of reacting. Do it as part of a strategy moving forward. And part of the strategy could be, I want to stay relevant.
Exactly.
And reinvent myself to stay in business. A lot of traditional businesses out there, for example, there's the story of Borders books versus Barnes & Noble and Amazon. Amazon came in as a big bully and came in and just strong-armed everybody with the books and the stuff. And now they're the king of anything.
Or Blockbuster refused to go streaming.
Right, and then they died. And Borders made that same decision and they're no longer there. Mm-hmm. Barnes & Noble adjusted and stayed true to who they are, and they're still in business. Exactly.
So it's not giving up you. It's just adjusting, not being stubborn.
Right.
when it comes to the algorithm not being stubborn on, you know what, suck it up, make a reel instead of a post, deal with it. Like that's the way it is. Or if you don't want to do that, focus on Facebook, focus on Pinterest, whatever. So you adapt. You don't change yourself. You just adapt.
You have to.
You have to adapt in business.
And that's strength. Admitting that and entering into that and changing, it is strength. Being stubborn is actually a weakness, and you have to deal with that. You have to now look inside your heart, figure it out, Mr. or Mrs. business owner, and actually understand that, hey, you know, why aren't things working? Well, ask yourself, where am I? Where am I in my thoughts? Where am I limiting beliefs about business, about my competition, about my industry, about who I am, and what do I really want to do? This is how important the brand is, because it starts there. When you have it down, when you understand and you know it, and you just don't know it. It goes from here to here, and you feel it, and it becomes you. Then everything oozes out of that. It's like that
gut feeling.
Totally.
And let's share one way we've adapted the past year. So one way Cheek & Co has had to adapt instead of crying about it is my online sales have changed, not because of us, just because of life and the economy and everything. So instead of being, you know, all woe is me, I was like, okay, time to invest in pop-ups. And I've been showing up in person and making up for those lost sales. And that's just what you got to do.
So you adapted, whether you like it or not. You need to stay in business. You need to stay relevant.
I got to pay my bills and stay true to me. But how can I make it adapt, but it's still Chica? So.
Now, and that's interesting because I talked about reactionary, and I understand sometimes we have to react to things and maybe it wasn't in the plan. So I want to clear that up, because there's it might sound like I'm splitting hairs here about the word, but reacting is leaving the way I see it is seeing things and leaving it to chance. So it's like, I don't have a plan, so I'm sitting here and the winds change and I'm like, oh, that's the path of least resistance. I'm going to go here, or that looks good. Without any thought of it. When you apply thought and intention and strategy, then it's no longer reactionary. Now you're adjusting because the conditions have changed. And when you talked about being stubborn, yes, it's okay to change your mind, and it all starts with us. And what comes out of that is your brand. Your brand will adjust to you, and then the market will adjust to that.
Absolutely.
But it starts here.
And you also see, as a marketer, do you see people who rebrand too much?
A lot. And it's like, really?
Like you gotta stop.
And they, oh my God, all the time. They're messaging, because they don't know who they are.
Like imagine Target, like being like, never mind, no Target icon. Like we'd be like, what is this? Like you can't do that. You have to pick what you want to be and stick to it.
Yeah. The other day I went into, and look, doing it is okay. Doing it all the time is not okay.
Because then your consumers get confused.
Right. And confusion in anything, especially as a consumer, when the consumer is confused, they don't act. You have to be clear about who you are in your business. And when it's clear to you, it's clear to the audience, and that actually builds trust. It builds connection to you, and then when they trust you, they buy from you.
I had on my list adapting, which is everything we just talked about. So I'm glad we went over it. And then I also had on my list just put down consistency, because in branding, I think, okay, you have the brand, you have your why, you have your ideal client, but you're hopping around different ways. You got to stay consistent, and the best thing you can do is show up.
Right.
If you're overthinking it and then you just don't show up at all, I mean, you're going to get hidden. Right. So even if you feel like you're, I don't know if my video is the best or at least you are there. At least you showed up.
How can you be considered for anything if they don't know you're there?
Yeah, so.
Be present, be there. And that's ultimately the brand. And we did say earlier that it is intangible. It is an essence. Now, there's visual components and evidence of a brand, and that we can shift to. The evidence of a brand is your message, your messaging, your logo, your
colors.
Brandage, your colors. You talked about consistency, having
your font.
Your font.
That's not
font. You see that? It's singular, not 50 fonts.
Not what's the one? Comic Sans.
Comic Sans. It's not Times New Roman. It's not what's the Avatar one that the whole thing.
I don't know.
But that in itself, it's huge, because then you create a consistency, like you mentioned, continuity of the look and feel, the voice. There's your message and what you're saying there's a tone to that. So you can be personal, conversational, it could be corporate, and and that's very.
And if
that's
you're
part
not
of your
sure
brand.
what your brand is, keep an eye on your Pinterest, keep an eye on what you're liking on Instagram, and you'll see you'll see a repetition with colors that you're liking,
Right.
with vibes that you're liking, and then just kind of create it your own, brand in that way.
Right. But that it's purposeful, meaning once you need to land there in regards to
Without
what
copying.
it is. Right.
Don't copy.
Right. You use things as inspiration. Don't copy things.
Yeah.
So actually, it's an interesting thing. How can you how can somebody tell if their brand is outdated? There's one.
Do you feel that is up for debate, that you can't go out, like if that is true to your brand? Well, like you see like Nike, like they don't, Starbucks, it's like the same.
Okay, that's a really good question.
Netflix hasn't changed.
You almost stumped me there. Yes and no. So willingness to look at it as an option to see if that's impacting why there's dips in within your industry, like maybe your sales are not down. You have to consider that. It might not be it, but considering it is part of the deal. I always say there's one of the little taglines: "Don't be bland. Let us recreate your brand."
I love that. Do the clap. It's a yellow one.
Yellow.
Don't be bland.
Right. So is it bland? Well, there's exercises you can do to find out what the perception of, if the perception of who your company is, who you are, your brand is what you think it is. Ask the people you trust.
I ask my people all the time. If you need to kind of reevaluate, I said, can you guys give me a word that you think of when you think Chica & Co? And what you want to do is, if the words aren't corresponding with your brand, then you got to tweak something.
Right.
But they were like bright colors, creating, yellow, disco balls, like butterflies. I was like, okay, perfect, we're good. But if they were like purple, darkness, I'd be like, okay, I need to reevaluate what I'm doing.
I want to give a little disclaimer here about what I just said about asking somebody, because this could be an entire podcast episode. But I'm gonna hit this a little. I need your take on this.
Okay.
If there's a saying, if you ask somebody for their opinion, you know what you're going to get? You're going to get their opinion. Mm-hmm. So asking people, it's not necessarily trust. Yes, you need to trust them, but people that have credibility in what you're asking them to give you the answer in the not just anybody. So obviously your customers and stuff. If you're going to ask a lot of different types of people, then ask a larger sample. So then if it's 3 people, that's not enough to give you the evidence that you're looking for.
I'll use like polls on Instagram stories to kind of get a gist of who is actually following me. And I'm always sometimes surprised by, like, I thought we had a lot more West Coast gals, but it was like 10% of my people. And then also go into your analytics. It'll tell you if it's mostly guys following you, girls following you, which is important to keep it, that ideal client comes right back into your brand. Right, it goes side by side.
Yeah, and
we'll have to do an episode on ideal clients.
I love that.
For sure.
Okay, yeah, let's do that. So it is who follows you, who your customers are, right? It's not just people following, because you have people who actually follow you who don't buy from you, and that's okay.
And that's totally fine.
But so it's
and return customers.
Right.
Are they coming back, or is it a one time and then they're gone?
Yeah,
so how can I bring them back?
Right.
Yeah.
When my business it's a different type of. I don't want to use this word. I'm going to jump away from this word as quickly as I use it. Is transaction. Obviously, in my business, we have relationships with our clients because we're their marketing team. So we're a lot of good friends of mine. We're clients first. So we spend a lot of time with them and build that trust and help them. That's the customer. Those individuals, those companies, we can ask, how is it working with us?
Those customers for life, they mean so much to us. Yeah. Like the fact that I'll do a wedding and then their maternity and then their family. And it's just like, that's so cool. Like I'm a part of your life and you're a part of mine. Or someone found me like through the clothing, but then ended up doing a session. Like it's so cool how all that can go together when you brand yourself. It all flows. Right. Like the fact that a wedding client is supportive of the clothing and is like, oh yeah, I just bought from you. Like they're not weird that I have another business. Right. They're supportive of it because they're supportive of Meghan.
I love that. And since we talked coming full circle with who is your brand is you and you're your brand. If you're a business owner, if you're an entrepreneur, it's an important thing to understand that you can actually, again, change your mind if you need to. You can reinvent yourself because you might be in a different phase of your life that maybe something interests you differently than it did before and things like that. And we've had a few little shifts I have within my company based on that. And I know you have, Megan, having, evolved as a person and grown because you've grown up.
And I see that happen when someone goes from an entrepreneur with no kids to kids, that it becomes their brand. And it's really cool. Like seeing like my friend, like share her son now in like motherhood. So she now has a new demographic of clients that relate to her that wouldn't relate to me because I'm not a mom. Like it's really cool how it can adapt, or mental health, or like literally anything about you is access to that stream of people.
Right. And that's how you stay relevant. That's how you stay in business. You have to be able to grow that way, but separating you from your brand is a mistake. And I had a separation subconsciously. I didn't do it on purpose, but a few folks that are very close to that trust have told me, Javi, you are your brand. People want to do business with Javi, which it's high ground, not necessarily high ground. And so when you see personal stuff that I do on social media, now that you're starting to see overlap where there's my passion and what I do in my personal things, but also with the business.
Yeah, you're showing that behind the scenes real life stuff. And that's one way to do it. Another way is having an about you is so important on your website. Showing up via Instagram stories. That's one way I personalize myself.
Oh, yeah. And by the way, there's times when I haven't heard from Megan. Now, these days I talk to you all the time because we're doing this together. But there's times when I was like, I don't know how Megan's doing. Well, and we look at the stories and like, oh, Megan's,
oh, she's pretty good today.
You know what's happening.
Yeah, it's all on Instagram.
And that's an interesting thing that, but not being fearful of that when you're a business owner. Don't enter into
What's
that.
the worst that's going to happen? Someone's just going to unfollow if they don't want to hear it.
Exactly.
That's not your ideal client.
That's not your ideal client. And I'm going to actually tie this episode with our previous one, which was about community, connection, and collaboration. So
it all connects.
It all connects. What we're doing this, what's the byproduct? We're connecting with our audience. We're building community. And when we collaborate with them and back and forth with each other, all this together builds trust. And now you build a very sound business.
Don't be afraid of collaboration, even if you're a baby business.
Absolutely.
Tomorrow I get to do a in-person pop-up at my local coffee shop, and that is a new access to new people that are the coffee shop's people, but I know they're going to connect with me because I connect with the coffee shop. Right. Like I have no fear that they're not going to merge. Like I think it's going to be great.
I love that. And that's so powerful. So what's the lesson? I mean, we're kind of hitting here the end point here.
Well, it's such a broad topic, so we did as best as we could to not, talk about everything we could. But when it comes down to it, it's be yourself, even though that sounds cliche, but it's so true.
Like, and know who you are, right? And branding is a strategy. It needs to be purposeful. It is part of the plan when you're growing a business or any type of enterprise or organization or group. You have to pay attention to that. If you leave it by chance, you're in trouble and you don't even know it, and you're hemorrhaging, and at some point it's going to come back and bite you. So it has to be a category. You have to consider branding and always look at it, because you're always building your brand. That's part of marketing. That's part of growing a business.
And it's so much fun. I love branding. It's so much fun. And what you can't do, outsource. So there's people you can bounce ideas off of. There's people like High Ground Creative that can actually do it for you and help you organize what's in your head if you aren't right brained. If you're like, I don't even know what my favorite color is, then there's people who can help you do that.
Right, and that's exactly right. Because a lot of times with my clients, I help them guide them through that process. And kind of like a digital Dr. Phil.
Yeah. Imagine like a mowing company, like not using green, hello. It's just of course you would do that. But some people don't think about those things. And that's why it's totally okay to not be able to do everything and to outsource and
right.
And get that help. But
I think we're in a good place.
Homework would be to either ask someone close to you or ask your consumers what's 3 words they think of when they think of your company, your business, and that'll really help see where you're at. And I also wanted to share my kind of like exit that I want to hear.
That's right.
So
that was our homework.
First thing, we like calling you guys I wrote it down, the creatives, or like
our fellow creatives.
Fellow creatives. We like that. I mean, there's not much you can do with, I like that.
Yeah.
And then as an exit, thank you guys so much for listening. First off, we are so excited for this podcast. And
reach out to us. I know there's a lot of things in here. We didn't expect to land somewhere and say, this is what this is. But this is supposed to kind of spark conversation and stimulate kind of creativity and get you in that mode of understanding, I need to think about this and I need to enter into that creative space, use my imagination, and how can I build my brand and get it out there so then it stands out from others and it's solid. So that's how we tap into our inner creative, because and doing that is a very purposeful thing. So hopefully you got a nugget or two here, our fellow creatives, because everybody's creative.
And do me a favor and go create something.
Go create something.